Hi, I'm Dr. Dan Middlebrooks from Chaplaincy Care, and I want to welcome you to Faces of Our First Responders. And I want to introduce you to one of our lead first responders right here in Plant City, and that is Chief Ed Duncan. Chief, I appreciate you joining with me for this time, especially with everything that has been going on, not just in our community, but in our country. It has been an incredible thing to watch you and all of your men and women do some miraculous things and some very heroic things, but also what they're willing to do every single day. Regardless of pandemics and stuff of that nature, they are true heroes. When you stepped in here, now tell me a little bit about your background, because I know that you had started out with Tampa Police Department. Kind of take me from there and take me to what led you right here to Plant City.
Very well. Thank you, Dan, for coming out here today and talking with me. And also I wanted to say this, that law enforcement to me is an honorable profession. Mm-hmm. And I started at a very young age. I started with the Tampa Police Department when I was 19 years old.
Wow.
And I began my career as a crime scene investigator. Mm-hmm. And after about 3 years of that, I had the opportunity to go to work for the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office in 1978. And stayed there for 35 years. Had a wonderful career, served 4 magnificent sheriffs, and I had retired and thought I was over law enforcement. But this is all I've ever wanted to do. I've always wanted to be in law enforcement, and so when the city had an opportunity for a new police chief to be put in place, I thought, well, let me do it for a couple of years. Well, that couple of years turned into 6.
Yeah, I was about to say quite a few, which has been great for us.
But it has honestly been a wonderful career for me. I've had an opportunity to interact with a lot of wonderful people, and and a lot of people think that cops get cynical after all these years and stuff like that. And I will tell you this, that I still feel to this day that there is more good in this country than there is bad.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing that you learned. Is something I learned when I stepped out of the military back in 2013. You never retire, you just get reassigned.
Yes.
But also, when you do something that you just love doing it, that's not a job, that's a joy.
Correct.
And you have been able to do an amazing amount right here in Plant City and bringing about a strength and integrity to a police department, and as well as to a community. And it's very evident, not just in your professionalism, but also in your passion. You are this community because you love and you walk around and you talk and you go not just the mile but the extra mile. That's a very part of that. And I know all good things will come to an end, and I know that here's another chance to retire. We'll see how long that one lasts. But let me ask you, if in leaving some lessons learned, not just for the troops that are here now, but the leader that will ultimately step in and sit in your desk, what are some of the things that you will tell the new leader of these great men and women?
I think sincerely one of the most important jobs that we have as leaders is to lead our people. Mm-hmm. I think it's important to lead with integrity and to lead by example. Yeah. I feel very strongly about that, and I would encourage anyone that happens to sit in my chair is that they recognize the most important thing that we do is service to the community. Mm-hmm. The men and women that choose this profession take an oath from the very beginning, and I would ask that every day you remember that oath, mm-hmm. and you stay loyal to the oath that you took, and representing the history of this profession, that you maintain that integrity so that you do not, discredit the men and women that have given their all for this job. Mm. So,
I tell you, the thing I love is when you build upon integrity, you always have a foundation that's unshakable. But anything else can crumble. One author said, it's not the badge that makes a man or woman, it's the man or woman that makes the badge. And I can honestly say, Chief, that on behalf of Plant City and everything else, what you have done to the position as Chief of Police and your love and truly your time and investment in this community has made a position where it's been respected and actually admired because of all that y'all have to do. Everything rises and falls on leadership. And I always look to the leader of how things work out. And I deeply want to thank you, and on behalf of the community and also for Chaplaincy Care, of what you've allowed us to be able to do to invest in you, to be able to come alongside you in the good times, the bad times, the happy times, and the sad times, which is not just a part of our lives, but it is compounded with the lives of law enforcement. Because when a person, especially a spouse, kisses a law enforcement officer goodbye for the day, goodbye may be implied.
Yes.
And a lot of our society doesn't know that. With the years that you've been in law enforcement, tell me about your wife, because often we forget the fact that, and I know you and I agree, we married up in the world.
Absolutely.
But tell me, if you were to encourage the spouses right now for law enforcement because of the incredible spouse that you have and the support, what would you say to them, especially for those that are new coming into this calling? This isn't a career, this is a calling in life. What would you say to them?
Be patient and be understanding. What law enforcement officers see and do every day is beyond what the normal person should ever have to see and do. And that creates some level of stress and anxiety from time to time. But I think one of the most important things for a spouse to remember is that you're still the spouse, that you still have a voice in that relationship, and that you are the one that he may be his only safe sounding board from time to time. And it's important that a spouse watch and see those slight changes in personality, those difficult nights of sleeping and stuff like that, and encourage the law enforcement officer to seek some sort of a support or some sort of a counseling. And you know, when you have a program such as yours, like the Chaplaincy Care, that is invaluable for us as law enforcement to know that that's a resource that can bring us a great deal of peace. The people that are involved with the program, a lot of them have law enforcement backgrounds. So they've either lived it or they know someone that has lived it. And that's one of the things I think is very important for us as we have officers that we see that are struggling with whatever it may be. It may not be job related. Law enforcement officers are people. They have families, they have children in school, they have mortgages. So those are all the, you know, the stressors of a normal life, and then you add the stresses of the job. So it's important for that spouse to remain confident that and trust their relationship that they can work through these problems. It's often, I've seen it too many times, that it's often easier for people to just throw their hands up and walk away. You're giving up a great deal. And you shouldn't do that, in my opinion. I think it's important that you try to work through those problems and those challenges. And you know, I know as young officers start, there's always that, you know, the excitement of the job, and sometimes the spouse feels like she's being ignored because all he wants to talk about is his cop buddies and stuff like that. One strong piece of advice I can give to any spouse, and that would be to encourage your husband or your significant other to have an outlet other than law enforcement. And I will tell you this, throughout my career, I have maintained a relationship with people that are in other fields of profession. You know, have a passion, you know, whether it's mountain biking, snow skiing. You know, I have friends in the agricultural community. I love to go talk and see what they do. You know, I've done law enforcement all these years. To me, I don't want to talk about cop stories. I want to talk about what it takes to put strawberries in the ground, you know. So those are the things I think is important, that as a family you develop outlets to leave the job at the job site and seek those outlets that will provide you to be able to decompress. And again, with programs, what we have here, I know that if I have a problem or I see an issue with an officer, I can reach out to the chaplains, and then I'm pretty much removed from the process, and then they engage the officer, and it's a private thing. It's private, it's personal. So I've triggered the response, but yet the outcome is developed by the the participant and the chaplaincy care.
Yeah.
So those are important things. Police officers have a tendency to get this mindset that they're supposed to be indestructible, that they're supposed to be, nothing should bother them.
Bulletproof, yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's not the case. It's something that if you get into that mindset, it's dangerous. It's dangerous both physically and mentally for an officer to get that way. So, as a spouse, stay strong and know that without you, we could not do it.
Yeah. One of the things that my wife taught me, especially with the multiple deployments with the military, is that she knew that there was so much in my world, especially what I saw and everything else, especially in war, that there was no way to describe that. I really didn't want to do that because it's what they call the secondary vicarious trauma. You don't want to do that. But what my wife reminded me was, I don't need to know what you've seen as much as I need to know how you're doing.
Right.
She says, let me always stay a part of your world so that we can have our one world together. And I think that's something that's so important for all of us. Communication is not only key in what y'all do to go off to calls and stuff. Communication is vital in the relationships that you have, especially a marriage relationship. Now, quickly putting you on the spot, how many years have you been married?
22 years.
22 years.
Yes.
Because in the power and the process of that, those years are always not just investment of time, but it's an investment of a heart.
Yes.
You invested your heart with her, and you've also, both of you have invested your hearts in Plant City. Thank you for what you've done, not only in setting the foundation, but to provide a road by which others can now walk, that they can find a better future and a stronger understanding of the calling of being a law enforcement officer because of what you've done here. Chief, thank you for joining with me today.
Thank you, sir.
And thanks for joining us here on Chaplaincy Care, Faces of Our First Responders. In everything that they do, we simply call upon them when we need them. But also there are times where we need to make sure that we answer the call when they need us. Make sure that we're standing beside them, standing with them, and also standing out for them. Because what they do for us, they do every single day. And because of their giving of today, we have a better future tomorrow. Thanks for joining us on Chaplaincy Care.